Dear viewers, welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Équinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. In our top stories in this edition of the news, a family in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, battles with forces of law and order over a COVID-19 corpse. The family forcefully took out their relative who died of COVID-19 from a private clinic here in the country's economic hub. And in the southwest region of Cameroon, the governor, Benau Kalebilai, condemns the killing of the mayor of Mamfe in the Manio division. He was shot dead, allegedly by separatist fighters yesterday. In the meantime, over 17 separatist fighters have dropped their guns and handed themselves to the administration. We begin this newscast in the crisis-hit southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, where some 17 persons presented as ex-separatist fighters have handed themselves to the administration, and they said that they have decided to drop their guns for an end to violence, killings, and destruction that have been going on in Anglophone Cameroon for close to 4 years today. The alleged separatist fighters say they were fighting for a cause, but now they have decided to go another way. Smanjikan Gabriel reports.
The absence of motorable roads from farms to different market points in Kupema-Ninguba division alongside the neglect of many certificate and degree holders who stay at home unemployed were some of the reasons that forced some Wambong youth to hold guns against the state. They made this declaration recently as 17 alleged separatist fighters dropped their arms. For them, they believe if government could develop their village, everything will be well.
We have certain quarters in Wambon that are not electrified. So we wish that the government should electrify those quarters, provide all good pipe-borne water, good roads. With that, we know we'll manufacture everything by ourselves. We'll sell our crops, and we also hope the government will give us jobs for graduates, because all about road. If we have good roads, we'll sell our produce. The government should also supply us with chemicals, inputs in general.
An alleged fighter confessed he was happy dropping his arms.
The day we had long awaited, for we are being brainwashed by those we don't even know through their media propaganda, and it's because we were hooked in between. So we were either afraid of both sides. As we have come here, it's a journey of no return. The SGO has even promised us of many good things awaiting us, and we really hope it will work well. We were training illiterates, and we don't risk having a society of illiterates. So we were all delighted to see our children. I'm also a student. To see our children return back to school, because we took off arms against the state, and we know a battle with the state can never be won by individual. So we regret very much. As we have surrendered indeed.
Before the alleged 17 fighters could drop their arms, the negotiations for them to come back wasn't easy.
We can only be happy because for 4 years, for 4 good years, our parents, our brothers and sisters, our children have gone through a lot, all because some of us decided to join this illusion called Ambazonia. So Mwambong is a happy clan today. Sons and daughters of Mwambong are extremely happy.
Those still with arms in the forest have been told to drop them and come back to their normal life.
I'm very happy for this historical move my people of Mwambong have done. Mwambong is like a prodigal son who was out of the national institution, but they are back. And I want to seize the opportunity to ask those remnant guys who are still in the bush to dropped down the guns. We're ready to continue to work with them, to help them to come back in the normal life.
It is reported that at least 6 alleged separatist fighters were killed in a tough battle before these 17 dropped their arms.
The President of the Republic of Cameroon, Paul Biya, and other administrative authorities and some elite have been urging the separatist fighters to drop their guns, come out of the bushes and return to the normal life trend for several years now. But there are still many of them in the bushes holding firm to the struggle to restore the statehood of the former southern Cameroons, and some of them are alleged to have killed the mayor of Mamfe in the southwest region of the country over the weekend, and the governor of the southwest region, Benau Kalia Bilai, has condemned the killing of Mayor Ashu Ojong of the Mamfe Council. Derek Jato reports.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jato. On behalf of the Mamfe population, this is his first interview with Equinoxe Television as the mayor of Mamfe Council, and his last. Mayor Ashu Princely Ojong, mayor of the Mamfe Council, spoke to Equinoxe Television Saturday, May 9, 2020 at about 3 p.m. and his death was announced the next day, May 10 in the morning. Sources say Mayor Ashu Princely Ojong was murdered by separatist fighters in his native Eshobi village. The said village is somewhere after these forests, and it is one of the villages under Mamfe Central Subdivision. The exact cause that caused his death is yet to be established, but Equinoxe Television gathered that Mayor Ashu Princely Ojong was called by separatist fighters that he should come and take them to the government, for they have dropped their arms and are willing to be reintegrated into the society. And he went to meet them, and instead he was murdered by the said separatist fighters.
COVID-19, this monster virus has humbled the entire universe.
Mayor Ashu Princely Ojong, mayor of the Mamfe Council, was lastly seen in public May 9, 2020 at the reception of consignment to fight COVID-19 in Manu Division, donated by sons and daughters of this land under the umbrella Manu Economic and World Development Conference, MEWIT, to all the 4 councils in the division. And as the host mayor, in his welcome address, Mayor Ashu Princely Ojong thanked the Manu elite for their intervention.
I would like to thank the donors and for this gift. When lead them, I want to extend this same opportunity to thank His Excellency Minister Victor Mengot, who has been the chief donor, chief patron for this association.
The Anglophone crisis was seen to be subsiding, and COVID-19 was the visible threat. Mr. Orok Thomas and Honorable Teku Tanyi represented the president and patron of MENWIT respectively at the donation ceremony.
The minister is for the fact that the Banyu people have to lock all the holes, they have to screw everywhere such that the coronavirus does not enter into Manu Division.
Personally, I've never seen a thing like this before that has, affected the whole world. And if the world is a chain, actually, as far as the world is concerned, Africa is concerned, Cameroon is concerned, we too as an association were very much concerned.
And recording 130 hours later paint the true picture of the security atmosphere here. And in a brief session with some traditional rulers, they told me that the Anglophone crisis is still very hot in some of their villages.
Chief Ojong Asu, the chief of that Nakwaya subdivision. Because of the problems, I'm resident here in Mamfe, and we are battling with everything. Since the crisis, now the pandemic.
The death of this 35-year-old Mayor Ashu Princely Ojong, the mayor of the Mamfe Council and the youngest mayor in Cameroon, is coming 3 days after his driver was killed along this Kumba Mamfe road. And the MEWIT delegation also met with some resistance on their way home at Ayong a locality between Kalangai and Miami, still along his Bamave route.
In some parts of the southwest region, under a socio-political and security crisis for close to 4 years today, complaining that they have been neglected or better still sidelined in government's anti-COVID-19 response. Inadequate health and other social amenities, some of the issues highlighted by some elite administrative authorities and the population to express their dissatisfaction with the manner in which the government is managing the COVID-19 pandemic as far as their area of residence is concerned. So once more, Derek Chat of Faros in Ditos.
We urgently want
the cry of some administrators on COVID-19 danger on their doorsteps get more louder as the number of confirmed cases of coronavirus hit 2,500 plus in Cameroon.
In the whole of India, there are just 4 medical doctors, meaning that if there should be a case in India today, I'm sure Indian division is going to turn itself into a grave. Yeah, that is not our wish.
To say we need demo flashes, we need more medical personnel.
They say their division is not able to attack and will not be able to defend if COVID-19 strike.
Besides the lack of personnel, the health facilities themselves are not even there.
Makes us a very, very vulnerable population.
And today, Senator Anki Afion Rebecca Ama of Njan Division is intervening by providing preventive kit to the entire division, from Bakasi to Ekondo Titi, Dikome Balui to Mundemba, not leaving out Toko Subdivision. And Mr. Forwan Lawrence, the senior divisional officer from Njan Division, while receiving the consignment, sent Senator Anki Afion Rebecca Ama to table the desperate picture of things in Njan Division vis-a-vis COVID-19 to the Cameroon Minister of Public Health.
I am therefore calling on the powers that be, especially Madam, the donator of this gift, that she should go and elect residents, I use the word elect residents, in the office of the Minister of Public Health, to tell the Minister that India has been abandoned to itself, that there are only 4 medical doctors, and that even the district hospital in Mundemba, there are only 4 nurses, beside the chief of the district hospital.
The municipal authorities charged with the distribution of these materials went to work immediately.
The result of reporting there. As of now, the Republic of Cameroon is counting 2,579 confirmed COVID-19 cases, 114 COVID-19 related deaths, and 1,100 or 1,465 persons have been successfully treated from COVID-19. 121 are hospitalized, and 28 of them are under respiratory assistance. And the Ministry of Public Health, or the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malachi, is urging all Cameroonians and all persons living on the Cameroonian territory to continue strictly respecting all the barrier measures, the measures put in place by the government of Cameroon and the World Health Organization to stop the spread of coronavirus. And I told you in the headline, say family got into a battle with forces of law and other in Cameroon's economic capital Douala today over a COVID-19 corpse. They forcefully took out the corpse of their relative who is said to have died of COVID-19 from a private clinic here in Douala. Manjik and Gabriel has more.
The lifeless body of a suspected COVID-19 patient lying in the middle of the road. We are at the Bali neighborhood in the Douala 1 subdivision, where a family forcefully removed their dead father from a private clinic after they were told he died of COVID-19. The family refuted the doctor's report, saying their father wasn't infected.
Nous sommes allés aux garnisons militaires, l'État aux garnisons
We went to the military hospital where they sent us to the general hospital. There was no oxygen, and that is how we came to this clinic. As we arrived, they gave us some documents to fill, telling us that our father has been infected by COVID-19 without any test done. They asked us to deposit a caution of 250,000 francs for him to be given oxygen. On Friday, they asked us the sum of 1 million francs CFA, but unfortunately we gave 750,000 francs CFA. On Sunday, when we came to ask the condition of our father, they told us it was very bad. Monday, when we came back, we told them that if they don't allow us to see our father, we're not going to drop the 400,000 francs CFA left. There, we were informed our father is dead.
Lundi matin, on s'est retrouvé ici, on a dit que ok, si vous ne nous donnez pas l'état du vieux, on ne peut plus verser l'argent, les 400 000 qui restent. Maintenant que le père est décédé, et il est décédé de l'AVC et du Covid.
Successfully, they will hire a taxi which accepts to carry the corpse. And gendarmes will follow them later to take the corpse back. The doctor at the private clinic says the man in question was brought to them after most of the renowned hospitals in Douala were overcrowded with patients.
Je voudrais d'abord dire que je m'associe.
I feel the pains of the family. It is a normal scenario for people who have lost a loved one. At the beginning, we were told it was a cerebrovascular attack. Luckily, the doctor asked why a patient with a cerebrovascular attack should be using oxygen, and there we asked them to do a thoracic X-ray while waiting for the COVID-19 test. The thoracic X-ray result came out, and we saw that the man was suffering from a bilateral interstitial pneumonia, reasons why he was admitted at the COVID unit while waiting for his transfer to La Quintini Hospital without space.
Nous leur avons demandé plusieurs fois qu'il fallait transférer leur père à l'hôpital La Quintini. Ils ont dit qu'il était soigné ici. Nous n'avons pas manqué d'attirer leur attention sur la gravité des faits, comme l'a testé le scanner, avec une atteinte à plus de 70%.
The corpse, we were told, was later brought back to the clinic where he died while waiting for preparations to bury him like any other COVID-19 patient.
Another protest provoked by the fight against COVID-19. Still in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, in the Mabanda market in the Douala 4 subdivision, traders are expressing anger over some measures taken by the supervisor of the market and council authorities to stop the spread of COVID-19. They are complaining that the measures are seriously disrupting all the activities, and this is having a devastating impact on their income. They are unable to do business. They are unable to put food on the table. Immaculate Fogwe reports.
The outbreak of the coronavirus in Cameroon has greatly affected business activities. Before, traders at the Mapanda market in the Douala 4 subdivision had no specific time to operate. But now, they have very few hours to go along with their business activities. This follows the decision taken by the mayor and the supervisor of the Mapanda market, who have gone beyond the measures taken by the government of Cameroon, calling on traders to operate from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Before, the supervisor of the market had asked petty traders to operate from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. and for stores from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. an order which we respected. But after the minister lifted some measures, we are surprised that the supervisor has released another communique calling on shop owners to operate from 10 a.m. and close at 4 p.m. I don't know if the virus is only found in the Mapanda market. The traders are equally decrying the fact that they are being asked to pay taxes even after the government had recently suspended the payment of taxes for business operators till the month of September. They are still asking us to pay taxes even after it was suspended by the government. They are asking us to open at 10 a.m. and close at 4 p.m. I don't know if our country has two governments, as we have different orders coming from different directions. The traders are sending a distress call to the government of Cameroon to let them operate within the normal working hours made public by the Prime Minister, Chief Joseph Tiangote.
An opposition politicians in the Republic of Cameroon see a government has failed woefully in its management of the COVID-19 pandemic. They think that there are many loopholes, or better still shortcomings in government's anti-COVID-19 response that should be rectified as soon as possible before things get out of hand. However, those of the ruling Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, CPD, and political parties say it's been a success, the months of fight against coronavirus in the country. With regards to the number of persons healed, the number of persons who have been successfully treated from coronavirus, and they were speaking during the weekly program on Equinoxe Television. Draw the response. For me, Armstrong Sander reports.
2 months after the government of Cameroon engaged a response plan against the coronavirus pandemic, political actors are assessing the success and failures of the plan. On Equinoxe Television's weekly flagship program, Droit de Réponse, Barrister Sapi Lavoisier, militant of the Social Democratic Front's political party, declared that the response plan of the government of Cameroon has been a failure. Barrister Sapi Lavoisier says the plan failed because the government of Cameroon failed to draw adequate lessons from countries hardest hit by the coronavirus pandemic. Some of these lessons, he says, include the failure to immediately initiate a massive testing program nationwide, which according to him would have helped to identify and quarantine all infected persons to save those free from the coronavirus pandemic. Secondly, Barrister Lavoisier says government failed to lock down Douala, Yaoundé and Bafoussam to contain the spread of the coronavirus pandemic at the early stage, when these cities were the only affected cities across the country. Lavoisier regrets that the government of Cameroon could only test about 3,000 persons in the city of Douala, the economic capital of Cameroon, which is a city with over 3 million inhabitants. To further justify that government failed in its response plan against COVID-19 2 months after, Barrister Lavoisier of the Social Democratic Front said the government of Cameroon gave a go-ahead to drinking sports and leisure places to open beyond 6 p.m. across Cameroon, but has been unable to enforce the compulsory wearing of face masks in these places. Cameroonians stream into bars and nightclubs every day without face mask, he says. Sapi Lavoisier, who is also deputy mayor of the Bafoussam 1 council in the west region of Cameroon, said the COVID-19 gift sent by President Paul Biya to subdivisions in Cameroon has largely been insufficient. Taking the case of his Bafoussam 1 council, he said the gifts could not serve the high number of inhabitants in the Bafoussam 1 council area. In the same line, Anje Bello Bon Dachwa of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement's political party outlined the difficulties faced by health personnel in Cameroon as they go to the front line in the fight against COVID-19. He says the health personnel are more and more exposed to dangers in Cameroon, and they have not been able to acquire protective equipment or receive them from the government. After emphasizing on the points raised by his co-panelist of the Social Democratic Front, the CRM party official maintained that President Paul Biya is absent in the fight against COVID-19, and this absence, according to him, has contributed to the rapid spread of the coronavirus across the country. He thinks President Paul Biya has a 0.01% confirmed cases compared to the total population in the country, and has also registered some 4.41% deaths over the total number of confirmed cases at Cameroon. Andre Lutamika maintained that the COVID-19 response plan of the government of Cameroon has been a success, and all hands should be on deck to give an everlasting victory over the coronavirus pandemic.
Omi Armstrong Sanda reporting there. And the President of the Republic of Cameroon, Paul Biya, and the Prime Minister, Chief Dr. Joseph John Kute-led government continue pursuing efforts to bring back home Cameroonians stranded abroad because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The second group, made up of 626 Cameroonians, will arrive at the country in the hours ahead. A special flight left the United States of America earlier today, and it has been making stops in other countries to pick up other Cameroonians stranded because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and they will be arriving home by tomorrow. Coming up, Innocent, as he takes a look at the fight against COVID-19 in other parts of the African continent.
More than 63,293 confirmed cases of the coronavirus across the African continent, with close to 3,000 deaths in all 53 infected countries, with exception being Lesotho, according to the latest data published by the Johns Hopkins University and Africa Center for Disease Control on COVID-19 in Africa. A number of African countries are now imposing a range of prevention and containment measures against the spread of the pandemic. South Africa has witnessed an increase in the number of deaths and those who test positive for the coronavirus. As of Sunday, May 10, the country had 10,025 cases and 194 deaths. President Cyril Ramaphosa has told his citizens to be prepared for a new reality in which the fight against COVID-19 will be part of their daily lives for a year or even more. Ramaphosa says even after lockdown, the country will need to observe social distancing. All will wear face masks, wash hands regularly, and avoid contact with other people. Also that workplaces, schools, universities, colleges, and other public places will need reorganization in order to limit transmission. He adds that his people will need to adapt to new ways of worshipping, socializing, exercising and meeting that minimize opportunities for the virus to spread. South Africa is now on stage 4 of the lockdown, and while this means some easing of the regulations, Ramaphosa comes under pressure to reopen the economy and end the lockdown. In Kenya, the government last Wednesday announced a partial lockdown on 2 virus hotspots, East Lae in Nairobi and Mombasa City. The 15-day measure took effect same day. There is no movement in and out of these places. All public places in the 2 areas are shut down.
All is not well. We must adhere to the measures.
The cases tally for the 2 areas stood at 68 and 64, respectively. Kenya has above 600 positive cases, including 29 deaths. In Ghana, where the confirmed cases stand at 4,700, including 533 as of May 10, President Nana Akufo-Addo announces an extension of the ban on public gatherings that will extend until the end of May, when new directives will be given. Schools and universities will remain closed. Similar restrictive measures adopted by other governments.
Elsewhere on the African continent, the fight against coronavirus has brought down 2 hotels in Nigeria. Authorities in Southern Rivers State demolished the 2 hotels for allegedly violating lockdown rules introduced to curb the spread of COVID-19. Governor Nyesom Wake personally supervised the demolition of the Prodest Home and Etemete hotels yesterday. Both hotels managers of the both hotels were arrested, but the brother of the manager of Rhodes home said the hotel was respecting the lockdown rules. Despite criticism on social media, the governor of the Southern Rivers State defended the decision, saying that they had found positive cases of COVID-19 in hotels across the state. Talking Point is up next. He was a separatist leader. He was a member of the interim government under detained Sisiko, Ayok Tabe, and Dr. Sako Ikome Samuel. He joining us from the United States of America, Dr. Nick Ngu Santos. You're welcome.
Hello, Mr. Babila. It's my pleasure being on Equinoxe Television for the first time. How are you today?
I'm okay, thank you. Let's talk a little bit about the coronavirus. What's the situation in Texas, from where you're joining us?
Yeah, I'm joining from Texas specifically because I had to move with family to see how we can quarantine together as a family. But my original base is Virginia, where I'm resident. The issue is we have been on lockdown for getting to a month and a half to 2 months now, and activities are totally dead. Everybody is indoors apart from food stores that are open and hospitals and prisons. Basically, these are the three major areas that are functioning: the hospitals, the prisons, as well as food stores for basic necessities. Other than that, is the same situation that is happening in the West, entirely in the West. And then in Cameroon, I think you guys did some marvelous job by trying to institute all the conditions that have been given by the Center for Disease Control. Social distancing, wash your hands, wear a face mask. It's the same thing all over, and the music is on worldwide. Thank you.
All right, as I indicated earlier, you were a member of the interim government under detained Sisiku Ayuk, and of course Dr. Sako. And you later resigned and decided to start working for peace. Before we get to know why you resigned, first of all, tell us what attracted you to the idea of the struggle to restore the statehood of the former Southern Cameroons.
Cameroonians at large, I want to first of all recognize the fact that we are all Cameroonians and we remain Cameroonians, because so far there is no international law or any nation in the world or the United Nations that has recognized any other sovereign state other than Cameroon in that area. Although we have a history of former West Cameroon and former British Southern Cameroons and East Cameroon, that we came together to live as one people. Frankly and sincerely, we have been working in that country. We are carrying the passport of that particular country called Cameroon. Most of us who joined this liberation struggle, or so-called independence struggle, were first of all not really coming for full-fledged independence. We're coming to clamor for some certain right the teachers and the lawyers stood for, as well as some of us who have been victims of such because of where we live, the English-speaking regions of the Northwest and Southwest province. And frankly, I believe that our cry has been heard loud enough, and some steps have been taken to try to ameliorate the situation. And then, when you get into something and it keeps degenerating from one stage to another, somewhere along you have to ask yourself, is this really what started this struggle for from the beginning? Because it's like the demands keep increasing and increasing until it reached a point whereby it led into an armed struggle. Frankly speaking, I joined the revolution because I wanted to psycho-educate as a psychologist. I wanted to psycho-educate the masses on how we could navigate through through the stages without having ramifications, both in the international community and with the military. But when it degenerated into an armed struggle until hijackers, political hijackers, conmen and scammers got into the show and destroyed the revolution, now working for their own personal interest and doing fundraisings and using the money towards their own personal care, flying across the world, paying for their house rents. The lifestyle, the change of lifestyle that has come along with it has made some people to be feeling fat, and for them to regress and face the masses and tell them the truth that they have found new employment in the revolution. It's a hard fact to make, because by most of them it's a hard declaration to make. And someone
Dr. Nick, you seem to be indicating
come out and deny the United States.
Dr. Nick, you seem to be indicating that the struggle has changed direction. What was the initial direction?
The initial direction was to clamor for the rights of the marginalized people of the English-speaking regions of Northwest and Southwest province of Cameroon, and also those rights were the rights that the teachers present. It kept on changing dynamics. It came on changing dynamics until we arrived where we are now, where some people have decided to introduce into it some barbaric acts of killing people, or preaching for killing and amputating people and kidnapping people for ransom. Means they have, all that comes to say that they have found a new trade and a new profession in the revolution. Those are the people I term them as hijackers of the revolution.
But some of those atrocities which you are highlighting today are said to have been masterminded from abroad by you and other people.
I will categorically tell you that from the onset of this struggle, I've never belonged to any arm wing. Most of us who have been there have been mostly in the political and leadership wing, which means that as a spokesperson, I had to report, or some of us who were spokespersons had to report, communicate information. But at the time it degenerated into an armed struggle, most of us resigned. I resigned at the time that my trip to Boya money raised by Sako, when I learned that that was money being raised for purchase of arms. And that's why I resigned. And also, I also resigned because of the embezzlement that was all accompanied in it, and the fact that he was misleading the people with Chris Ano and the others that introduced the armed struggle, who were preaching about arms. Like today, you know about the people who are preaching the violence and preaching the amputation and preaching all what they are preaching. For me, that is no more self-defense, but it's outright barbarism that has to be condemned entirely. That's why I and some other colleagues, or myself and some other colleagues who have been in the struggle, decided to come up with a forum whereby we can seek pacification, we can bring people on board so that we work towards peace across the aisle. And we have been doing a marvelous job so far for peace. And that's the Peace Task Force initiative for the resolution of the Cameroon conflict.
Dr. Nick Ngo Santos, what will you say to those who will tell you that you and other persons manipulated the young people in Anglophone Cameroon to get into the bushes and fight for the restoration of the independence of the former Southern Cameroons? And many of them have been killed. Many of them have been maimed. Many of them are living in very difficult conditions today. Many people have died. And today, you have abandoned them. What will you say about this?
I will first of all say that, Mr. Babila, two wrongs do not make a right. When the battle, the struggle did not begin today. As I said, it began with the teachers and the lawyers. There were mistakes committed on either side. For example, when the teachers were arrested and the lawyers, and then the military reacted, the Cameroonian government as well reacted high-handedly towards the situation that pushed the people into self-defense and radicalism. Most of us who were here in the United States and in the diaspora, the struggle down there or the crisis down there only met us here. It met us here because it was exported abroad. And when it was, because originally there were people down on the ground who had been pushed to radicalism by the high-handedness in the manner that the crisis was handled, was managed. So the fault also comes from the management of the crisis on the part of the government. But that notwithstanding, when it came over in the diaspora, there was a peaceful tone, especially in the time of Julius Seseko Ayok Tabe, which is the time that I joined the struggle. During that time, there were manifestations with peace plans. And from manifestation to peace, other self-defense. When self-defense came in, that's when the armed struggle kicked in, and that's the time that I resigned from the revolution. So we want to make it categorically clear that those people who went to the bushes did not principally go to the bushes only because of the diaspora. They went to the bushes because of the Cameroon government management of the crisis, which they managed high-handedly with the military. And then secondly, through psycho-education, most of them fled to the bushes and to Nigeria for their safety. Because I remember as a humanitarian professional and someone who worked also with the health and social services in the internet government, I also helped in the refugees, helping the refugees in Nigeria and others through donations and other things to take care of their welfare and well-being. So
you are saying that we are where we are today in the northwest and southwest regions because government has been poorly managing this crisis. Where did government go wrong in the management of the Anglophone crisis?
If we want to point out where government went wrong, it's very clear to all of us. The first point is that the arrest of the teachers and lawyers was a mistake. Instead of resolving the problem on a table when it was still at the mega level, or at the level that could be managed. You remember quite well. And then also when the people came out to revindicate, during the Mancho BBC and Penterence, all of them also were picked up. And then also you could have seen the military, the use of the military in the various areas of which you see instances like Gabu. Gabu is one of them. But you know, Mr. Babila, I want to say when a house is already on fire, and then both parties seems to be a dagger-drawn end, and there seem to be no pathway, I think the only language now that has to happen is that we have to listen to what the international community is telling us about the Cameroon problem. And I think as someone and my colleagues living in the United States, we have come to realize that
Dr. Nick Ngu Santos, former leader of the struggle to restore the statehood of the former Southern Cameroon's former member of the interim government under the Seseko Ayok, and Dr. Sako Ikome Samuel, speaking to us there from Texas in the United States of America. He resigned and he's now leading a peace initiative, encouraging other persons to join him in the efforts to restore peace and normalcy in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Goodbye.